Good morning, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet, and today we've got our technical assistance call, and welcome to all of our new friends in DHS family who have joined us because of the decentralization in Chicago. Just so that you guys are aware, if you haven't already joined us before, we do ask that you check in with the pod at the next to the chat pod. If you want to type anything to us, you can type it in the chat pod that is in the upper left-hand corner. And if we have files to share with you, we have those in the lower left-hand corner. So if you guys need to practice, everybody that's new, if you need to download the practice link so that you can get in and practice doing some things before we go live, that practice link sheet is there. So please check in by clicking which region you're with on the call, especially if you're from Chicago, but everybody else too, please. And then if you have questions that we need to cover, please check that box. You can check more than one there. And then we'll go through that process as we move forward. So let's start. I believe Natasha's on the phone, so say hi, Natasha.
Hello.
And Olivia Grisham is on the phone, and both, say hello, Olivia.
Hi, everybody.
Both Natasha and Olivia are in Springfield, and they help us keep all of the computer functions working and help us solve issues that I can't help you solve when I happen to be out in the field. So it's a great team that we have working with us. So it looks like we've got 45 people on the call right now, and we've only have about 33 people checked in. So if you could please check in, and then if there happen to be a number of you sitting around a one monitor or a computer screen, please type in the chat pod who is sitting there with you, because we like to know who's on the call just so that we know who's getting the information. First thing that we want to do today is talk a little bit about the invitation process, and I have my screen sharing right now. I'll bring it up in a minute. But if you have any specific questions about the invitation process, you can start typing your question into the chat pod. All right, so one of the things that we've done to try to make this as simple as possible for you guys, just because we have multiple sessions in some of the offices on a daily or weekly basis, we've added the ability, and this is going to go live hopefully by Monday, Natasha, or by tomorrow, or by today?
The new invitation piece?
Yes.
It will have to be next week because of an update that I want Cody to make. So.
Okay, so we'll have this out live, but I have been demonstrating it on the webinars and in the in-person sessions that I've been doing in Chicago. So I want everybody else to see this too. So what you can do is, after you have gone through the process of adding your DHS customer, you can go to the person, and right now I'm going to use Greenleaf because we set that up this morning to make sure that we had this working. Excuse me. And on the when you actually do the add customer and invite, it's the same thing as clicking invite from this screen that I'm on right now. And when we click invite, and the computer is taking a while to think here, when we click invite, what we get is the information about the customer that we invited. It shows the name, the date of birth, the last four of the Social Security number, the address. what the RIN number is, what the case ID number is. Now, the beauty of this is if we click in the orientation date to actually do the invitation, we can hover over a date, and it shows us how many people are scheduled for the morning or the afternoon session. Now, obviously, we're going to not hope to see zeros on Saturdays and Sundays, but just in the event that somebody messes up, you might want to check out where you've been putting your invitations. But this is the feature that we want to show you. On August 30th, we have 16 people scheduled for the morning session at this particular office. And we have a note, and this is as large as I can make this screen right now. We have a note here on the 30th for the morning session that it is considered full with 16 people. Now remember, in the Chicago offices, we only have 10 computers at each session. If you would like us, if you're in one of the other areas and maybe you have 15 computers and you would like us to set a limit for you, we're happy to do that as well. But this way we can see who is full and who is not. So I think Peoria has 15 computers. I think Rockford has 12. I can't remember. I know I've been there a number of times, but I can't remember exactly how many computers. So you might be able to take more people into the session than you actually have laptops to use, just because we do have the people that decide they want to leave just to go to stay with their traditional services that they've been receiving. So if we click the 30th, we know that we have to pick the afternoon session, or else there's a chance that our customer might have to wait to access a computer. We are working on the ability, and that's one of the updates that Natasha was talking about, of saying that there is no session available. So for example, a closed session, it might be where you do the re-invites, or it might be where you're doing a special session maybe for just for Spanish-speaking people. So we do the invite here, and then it goes through the regular process where it looks for the an existing Illinois WorkNet account and creates the new one if there is not one already there. We also have brand new that I just tested. So we have the username and the password. You would write that down on the orientation sheet along with the orientation date and the afternoon session, if that's which one you pick for that customer. So we're going to close this. What I want to also show you too is from the dashboard, we go to the intake dashboard and we look at scheduled for orientation. I click on this number, and I happen to be logged in as a DHS caseworker right now. So I'm going to look at Cook County Mid-South. Excuse me, I'm going to do search. I see the names. I see Greenleaf there, so green showed up. Now I export this list. And when I export this list, it goes to an Excel spreadsheet. I open the Excel spreadsheet, and I already had something else open, so I'm going to, hopefully this comes up here. Here we go. What you can see here, and let me make this a little bit bigger for you. What we have here is that it gives us the date and the session. So I can hear Deidre Wesley going, yay, in the background because she's really happy about this right now. So all you guys have to do now is for every day that you're having an orientation session, you print this list, and then you can use it for a checkoff. And then additionally on this list, it has the customer's username and password. So if they happen to forget or they don't bring their sheet because you mailed it to them, you've got all of the information here that you need to do that orientation handout for them. Okay, let's take a look at the questions. Lori Blankenship says, we invite 50 people to each session, only have 15 computers. Do you set the number that makes it full, or can we overschedule? You can overschedule. You know, you guys have been doing this for a while. You know what your show rate is. So what we can do is we can set your full rate for you, or you can just leave it.
We prefer to not set any full or capacity limits. If you don't need them, then we don't want to set them because they're hard-coded in. We only did that really for the Chicago areas. I mean, it's open to anyone to be able to do it, but it's really specifically for the Chicago areas because what they have are different pods, but then they have different feeder sites that are feeding into the same pod. So it's to help, let one site know what the other site is doing, whenever they're doing this invitation process. So it is hard-coded in, which means it would need to take a programmer to change it. So if you don't need it, then, I'd prefer that we don't add it in there. But if you need it, by all means, we can most definitely do that.
Like Natasha said, this works the best for the offices that have the feeder offices feeding to them. So, Lori, you and Vicki talk on a regular basis. You know who's getting invited, so it might not be necessary for you. All right. And Tammy asks, can you change it from sets available to seats scheduled so they can overschedule? The seats available.
Yeah, they can there's nothing on the system that's going to stop people from scheduling. The purpose of it is to have a visual, indicator, text, whatever, that says that, hey, right now at this location there's only 10 spots, and right now we want to keep it so you're only inviting 10 spots, 10 people to that orientation. We can increase that number, but again, it's just information to let you know that the session is full. We did not implement anything that's going to prevent somebody from overscheduling. It's just to let you know that this is what the pod has set there, or the orientation capacity has been set at, and so they would like you to stay within that capacity level, and that's really all it is.
All right. The other thing that we need to make sure that we're doing, and again, this is really beneficial for the people in Chicago who have multiple offices feeding other people. So there's going to be multiple offices looking at a case file. When you assign somebody, when they are randomly assigned to Epic, we need to make sure that you're adding a case note on the DHS file. So if you want to, I believe it's a 514, and then it goes to, if somebody can help me out, there was a WCS or a WDC or something. So if you could type that into the chat pod for me, I would appreciate that. But that's where we have the people who are going to be dealing with that customer down the road know whether they've been assigned to Epic or whether they're still just Snap ENT or Snap Business as usual. WBS, thank you. And that's going to be in IES. But up until that point in time, it's a 514 case note so that the person handling that case can see that they're in Epic and that they're not going to necessarily need to be called as much. If there are other case notes that get entered on Epic, at this moment you can copy the case note from Epic and paste it into DHS. But up until the point in time where we're able to sync between the systems, you still may have to copy and paste case notes. We will, when we're able to, we will pull from IES, but I don't know if it will go backwards into it. So you still may just have to copy and paste all the time. Okay, work experience. Natasha, do you want to talk about work experience?
I believe there was a question on Wednesday, and actually Olivia's probably the best one to talk about since I wasn't on the call, but
Okay.
they had a question, or had some DHS staff had questions about when the work experience was going to begin, and the answer is it really depends on the program, because the different CBOs, some CBOs start out with work experience, some CBOs can't start out with work experience because of the type of field that they're going into, and so the answer is it depends. But one of the things that was discussed was updating the description for the training program to better describe, how work experience fits into their program. So, if they typically start out with placing in work experience and then, having training on top of that, or both, or you do training for so many weeks and then you go into work experience, they were going to update the description so that as they were going through and, discussing the options to see if they're interested in participating in the EPIC program, you would have that information at your fingertips. Is there anything else you need to add to that comment?
No, that was pretty much it. We're hopefully going to try to get those descriptions updated, so then when you're going through with the customers, you have something you can kind of base that off of when they might be getting work experience, and if it does offer work experience.
All right. So if anybody has a question about the intake dashboard right now, if you could type that into the chat pod. Also, if you have a question about the application, I see that one person had a question about the application. So if you can type that into the chat pod now as well. One of the things that, Olivia, I saw that you had uploaded the DHS contact list and then took it out. Can you add
up? It was the CBO one, yeah. I'm
okay.
Working on getting the DHS one up.
So what we want to do, I want you to check the DHS list. I've added the new people as we've been going through the training sessions, but what I would like on this list is your desk phone instead of an office phone, so that if a CBO needs to reach out to you, or if Natasha or Olivia or I need to reach out to you, we have the ability to get to your desk phone instead of having to go through a switchboard of any kind. So once she gets that, if you can download that file, and all you have to do is click on the file, download it, and it will open up into a new browser window. If there are any changes that you need to make to your phone number, your email address, or your physical address, if you want to send that to epic@illinoisworknet.com, then we can make that change, and we keep that list updated on the restricted resources page. So if there's something that you need to change, send it to the epic@illinoisworknet.com. All right, volunteers to EPIC. So one of the things that, okay, Sabath said, how do I get to the intake dashboard? I am logged in, but it doesn't show the same dashboard as yours. Sabath, tell me what office you're in. Uptown. Okay. So for the dashboard, have you been through training yet, and have you set up your Illinois WorkNet account? Uptown is a feeder office. Okay, you're coming to training next week. So what you would do is if you log in and if you've been given rights, which is very important, you'll get to the intake dashboard by clicking at the top menu here and click intake. So if, oh, sorry. I forgot I had minimized my screen. Thank you for catching that. At the top, you go to dashboard and you click intake, and then you get to this dashboard. Now, because I logged in as a DHS caseworker, I'm on Team 1. I actually, for testing purposes, I've given myself rights to 3 different regions, and I've given myself rights to a number of different offices just so that I can do some testing in different areas. And then one of the things that we've just added to this dashboard is we have a pilot period from March through June, and then we have the actual study period from July to the present, and this will help us determine where we had hiccups along the way, getting ourselves up off the ground, and what the real data is moving forward. So once you have been assigned the proper rights, then you should be able to see this dashboard as I'm seeing it right now. So if you still can't see this after training next week, then we'll touch base about this on Friday again. Oh, did you email epic@illinoisworknet.com and tell us what office you're with and that you had set up your Illinois WorkNet account? Okay, we'll make sure that we get you set up with the right office that you feed. There may not be any numbers on your office because you haven't done any, nobody's done any orientations there yet. So that could be why you're not seeing any numbers either, because you're with one of the new feeder offices and pods. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Let's talk about volunteers to EPIC. One of the things that we need to remember is our goal is ABODs, able-bodied adults without dependent children who are between 18 and 49. That's the definition. But we can take 15% of people who are what are considered volunteers to the program, meaning they could have children as long as they are not receiving TANF. They could have a disability. They could be older than the 49, so they could be 50 to 65 years old. That is an acceptable person. So if somebody is referred to the office or comes in and they're older than the ABOD ages, you can accept them into do the random assignment. So remember, they can volunteer to EPIC if they have something that would normally be an exemption for them. All right. Olivia wants to show you a little bit about the intake dashboard. So if you have a question about the application, please type that into the chat pod. And if you have a question about the CBO assignment, type that into the chat pod. All right, so 15% is in total. So whatever Leslie asked, 15% by area or statewide. So it's, if your number is, I think you're region 4, I think your number is like 400 total. So 15% of that 400 could be volunteer participants that are outside of the ABOD range. Tammy's typing too. Okay, can you make your screen a little bit bigger? Can you magnify it a little bit, Olivia? About 150% is usually good. Okay, go ahead. You might need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dee. Hey, everybody. I just want to go over 2 areas on the dashboard that we have a lot of customers kind of building up in. I would like you guys to try to go into your intake dashboard and see if you have any customers in the 2 areas we're going to go over. And if you do, try to get these customers resolved by the webinar next Friday. So the 2 big areas are ready for review by DHS caseworker. We have 42 customers that are ready for review. When I went in and was looking at these, a lot of them are back from a couple months ago, and the customer maybe just didn't come back in, and they were never finished. So they're just kind of sitting there with nothing going on. So if you can, go in there and see if you have any customers listed, and just try to clean that up, try to get in contact with the customers who maybe didn't come in. Maybe they declined to participate and you just forgot to mark that on that page. And then the other area is it needs to be scheduled for consent. We have 36 customers in there, and it's kind of the same as the ready for review. A lot of the customers are from a while back, and nothing was done from them. On the eligibility review page, there is a section where you can mark if they decline to participate. So you would do that if they had declined. If not, you need to reach out to them and figure out what's going on. That way we can get them to where they need to be. Those are the only 2 areas that I wanted to go over. So if you could, please try to have those cleaned up as best you can by next Friday. And that's all I have, Dee.
All right. And I believe that Deidre told me that all of the customers have been moved to the appropriate offices, so we may have to work cooperatively as a group to go through some of those older applications to find out if they ever showed up again for orientation or anything, or for the follow-up. Okay. One of the other things that we have in the agenda is personal identification information. And this is very important because we've gotten a little sloppy with this. We need to tighten this up a little bit more. And in the file pod is a document that says security procedures, email communication. What this all boils down to is these customers that are in this study should not have their personal identifying information showing up in an email. We need to communicate by DHS case ID or by other participant ID. And the other participant ID will be most useful for us if you're trying to communicate with us about unlocking a customer or removing a duplicate, because that's how we find them. The other participant ID, let me show you one of those. I'm in test, and if I go to one of these customers, oops, I got to move my screen up. I just remembered. And if I go to one of these customers and I go to their profile, and I look down here on the other side, the other participant ID is going to be a 5 to 6 digit number. That is actually their Illinois WorkNet ID. That's the number that we can very easily confirm that that customer is in the system either once or twice. That's how we would find them, in addition to sorting by their Social Security number. So if you are communicating with anybody about a customer, use either the other participant ID or the DHS case ID, because that we can look up anybody by one or the other of those numbers, and that keeps their personal information secret. Now, if you're on the phone with me or Natasha or Olivia or somebody else, you can talk names and numbers on the phone, but just not through emails. Okay, let's minimize this screen again. I feel like a yo-yo with that. DHS contact information we talked about. All right, let's go back to the questions that you need to have answered. CBO assignment. Who had a question about CBO assignment that we need to answer? If you can type that into the chat pod, and if you could type in your question about the enrollment dashboard. It looks like there's 3 people that have a question about the enrollment dashboard. And whatever your other question would be, if you want to start typing those in. And we have almost everybody checked in. So if you did not get a chance to check in by region, if you could please do that, I would appreciate it so that we know who's on our call today. And I see Leslie typing. And is somebody on the call from Humboldt Park? If you could type yes into the chat pod, I'd appreciate it. Celine, I sent Rosario an email. Can you check with him to see if he received that, please? Oh, well, good thing I said. I need one of you to call me when we're done with the call. I'm going to type my cell phone number in the chat pod. So Amy, if you could call me when we're done, or Celine, if you could call me when we're done, I'd appreciate it. Great. Thank you. All right. And do we have any questions about the CBO assignment enrollment dashboard or other? We're only 4 minutes over today. Okay, here we go. We have someone who was SNAP eligible, completed the application, and when we went to do the random assignment, their case had canceled. Leslie, was that in EPIC or EPIS? Her case has now been reopened. Can we now do the random assignment, or does she have to start over with a new application? EPIC, okay. Leslie, why don't you send us an email to epic@illinoisworknet.com, and, well, actually what you can do is you can just look in the file. Let me open up my screen a little bit more. So if you go to your dashboard, and actually if you go to your customer tab and look for the customer, Mary Blige, you can find her name, click on her name, then search. She's here. Go to her profile. And in the profile, if the application information is there, then no, she does not have to recreate another application. Then you can check to see if the eligibility review was done, or did you get as far as the eligibility review? So then you can check to see if that's done. Did you get to EPIS, to do EPIS? Okay, so then the assignment tab should be grayed out, but you should be able to see the eligibility review. Excuse me, you should be able to see her application. If you don't see those couple of things, we can check in the system to see if it's in there and we just need to pull it in. So we need to take that offline, though. We don't want to talk about the customer online. So you can either call me after the call as well or call Olivia. Olivia, do you want to type your phone number into the chat pod? And one or the other of us can make sure that you have that all back to square one. Okay, okay. Yeah, if she's SNAP eligible and move forward, yes. So bring her back into the office to do the random assignment. Nope, you're good. You're good, good, good. All right. All right, I see Leslie typing. We'll wait to see if she has something else that we need to answer. And then otherwise, I think we might be done. Say yay! And I don't know if you guys know this, but up at the top, we've got the little man at the top of the screen where you can applaud or laugh if you click the down arrow. So Brenda's applauding. Yay! I just love the little man at the top of the screen. He's just so cute. All right, I think we're done for the day. So I will see some folks on Monday and Thursday at Humboldt Park. Amy, if you can call me afterwards, I would appreciate it. And everybody have oh, wait a minute. What about customers who we originally said were ineligible because of felonies? Can we bring them back in now that we have softened that restriction? Yes, yes, yes. Please do. All right. Have a great weekend.